they got issues of their own.
There's a high possibility.
Hello, guys. Welcome to our podcast, and we're Autumn and Navy on a podcast.
We're back. Ready for more. Ready to defend Gotham. Justice for Gotham. Wait, hold on. Okay, so what's on our list? Okay, so basically, we're all so addicted to our phones that it just took over our brains and, like, we can't live without it. But because of that, children especially, they had nothing to do, so they're on their phone. But the thing is that they were accessible to have YouTube and stuff, and that led us to having lovely Andrew Tate and his lovely podcasts. Now, he has good advice. Some of it, not all, obviously.
Like, not the beating women.
No. But the thing is since he said that, everyone else is taking all this good advice. So those kids, especially those little kids, are going to be like, oh, well, this worked. Why wouldn't this work, you know? And because of, like, this mindset, it's, like, changing people's perspectives into thinking, oh, well, since this worked, I'm just me. Basically, he's turning everyone into little tiny narcissists.
Yeah, and plus, like, a lot of these men are, like, successful. So a lot of, like, especially, like, the streamer ones who, like, not the podcast, but, like, the ones who do the streams. A lot of people now want to be, like, streamers.
Yeah.
I find a lot of times it's the young men here. They're like, yeah, I'm going to be a streamer when I grow up. I'm going to make so much money playing games. And, yeah, so they watch these people who are successful, and they're saying this, and they kind of look up to them. So they just absorb all that stuff, and they base their opinions and stuff off of, like, what these people say.
Yeah, it's just... Also keep in mind, most of these guys, don't get me wrong, you know? Most of the dudes that are doing this podcast, that's fine. Most of these dudes, yeah, great advice, but most of these dudes, they're bullshitting you. They are bullshitting you. Like, they're like, oh, pardon my language, but I get plenty of okay? That's what they're saying.
But, like, a lot of these men are saying this stuff, like, oh, I beat women. I just keep on saying I beat women. I don't know why. But, yeah, they say this stuff, and a lot of times it's for dramatic to, like, get attention.
Yeah.
And then they start to use it to get clout, all that stuff.
Yeah, because there was, like, this one YouTuber, I don't know his name, but, like, he got a younger audience to see, like, he just said the stuff to get attention, but a bunch of younger audiences said it, and then he had, like, a meet and greet, and then afterwards, all these kids from, like, ages 12 to, like, I want to say, like, 9, they're like, oh, women suck, F women, all this stuff. I was like, whoa, dudes, I was kidding. And they're like, no, like, that's what you taught us. Anyways, he felt real bad about it, and he eventually did something. I don't know. But anyways, what I mean is that even though some people say this stuff, it's always not true. Like Andrew Tate, there's a bunch of proof that he didn't just say this crap. Like,
yeah, like the Big Brother thing. He was on Big Brother, and he got kicked off because there was a clip of him, like, beating a girl with a belt or whatever. Maybe it was his girlfriend. I'm not too sure.
Autumn knows more about it than I do. I understand, like, the gist, but I don't, like, research this stuff. This is her hobby.
I don't research. I straight up, like, I go on YouTube. I go on commentary, like, YouTube, and I'm watching these people play, like, games in the background, and they're talking about, like, the most insane thing. They're like, yeah, Sneako's saying this and that, and they're like, oh, Sneako's a fuck. But yeah, like, you can tell, like, some people, like, as a society, like, we would like to say, like, hey, we progressed and all that stuff. Like, people are treated better, but the question is, are we going back?
Yeah,
are we regressing?
Yeah, and most scientists, like internet, for example, we have to wait at least another 10 years in order to get proper results. Until then, we don't really know. Like, me and Autumn know because we witnessed it. We're a part of the little experiment, but scientists can't do, like, a proper analysis until 10 years forward with the next full generation. Like, our generation now, it's known to be the smartest, but it's also known to be, I'm pretty sure, the most depressed. So, watch out.
Yeah, because, like, a lot of these men on these podcasts are saying, like, women belong in the kitchen, and that's how it, like, was back then.
Yeah, like, especially, for example, women's suffrage, for example. Not actual suffering, like, I mean, like, women fighting for the right to vote. You frickin' fricks, okay? Women's suffrage, this woman, I wish I remembered her name. She wore pants because it was hot and stuff. Like, and everyone was like, "Oh my God, that's scandalous, scandalous."
That's me when I see women wearing spaghetti straps and I see their shoulders at school. It's like, it's like I look at it and it's just like. That's how I feel looking at women's shoulders.
This is why we have a school like dress code because of you.
No, actually, the excuse is saying men get distracted. It distracts the boys. It's like, nah, it distracts the women.
Like what?
Me.
Can we talk about that for just a quick hot second? What is so attractive about a shoulder? Like, are you that desperate?
I don't know. People have foot fetishes. What's so attractive about like feet?
Okay, here's another thing. I heard someone said that fetishes are passed down by generations. I think that's a lie. I think fetishes are passed down by what a child is exposed to. Like, for example, Nickelodeon, that dude, there's a
Dan Snyder.
We don't talk about him that much. We're going to get into another whole different rant. But basically, channel made a bunch of shows, but almost all of them included feet. And I think, we have no statistics of this, but I'm pretty sure that, like, upped the ante for, like, foot fetish.
Yeah, like, on, like, Twitter, Facebook, I don't know where, but, like, on something, he was like, post doodles on your feet, and maybe you can have them in iCarly or whatever. Or it was Sam Cat. I think it was iCarly, though. He was like, use this hashtag. It's like, why are you asking children for pictures of doodles on their feet?
Like, parents wouldn't know. You know what I mean? Kids wouldn't know. They wouldn't think of that, especially with a kid's show. That's, okay. Yesterday, we were talking about how people at our school especially are more so, not everyone, but a good portion of people from our generation, I should say, is a bit odd. That is fine. But what's odd about it is that they're directing it towards children. And when I say children, we're teenagers. We're getting close to becoming adults. I mean, people our age are looking at 15 or younger.
No, I should see, like, 12-year-olds posting on the internet, like, I just I just bodied a 32-year-old. It's like, you a victim.
You are a victim. What
are you bragging about? You cannot consent. You just got raped. Like, you just got assaulted.
Okay, here's the thing. In Canada, they say that the age of consent is 16, but that's kind of iffy. I got curious. Hear me out. It's not gross. I just was genuinely worried and concerned. And apparently, 11-year-olds can do things with other 11-year-olds.
And 12-year-olds.
Yes, but a 17-year-old dating a 22, not 22, like, for example, a 17-year-old or an 18-year-old dating a 22-year-old, that's fine. But the thing is that if they're, like, a thing of power, so, like, say if they were your coach and you guys are dating, they could get arrested. But if they're not, then it's frowned upon, of course, but it's not, like, illegal.
They say the age of consent is 16 because that's when you can do it with basically, like, any age.
Oh, God, that's so gross.
As bad as it sounds.
But at the same time, I think I'm much positive. Yeah, 5 years up, it's okay, apparently. But if you're 16 and you're, like, with a 33-year-old, I'm pretty sure that's illegal. Even though it's consented, it's illegal because he's technically not a thing of power, but he's an adult and you're still technically a child. It's just consent. So even though you gave consent, it's still illegal, I'm pretty sure. But what the frig?
I know.
That's so gross.
It's like, there was this dude named Paul Breach, and he was on TikTok. Mm-hmm. It wasn't illegal, but he was getting with some pretty young girls, and people were hating on him. I find a lot of times people are like, hey, it's legal, I'm not a pedophile, and all that stuff. But society, like, kind of will hate on them a lot, like, and
yeah,
I kind of support that a little. Oh, my voice. I'm sorry, guys.
It's okay.
I find, like, kind of, like, society little, like, depending on, like, who it is, they will, like, attack these people and, like, hate on them. I'm kind of one of them because it's not so much, hey, it's legal. It's about, like, morals.
Yeah, there's morals. A lot of the time, it depends on the group you're in, too. Because, like, if you're with a group of people, like, there's just one place, for example, out in the middle of nowhere, and it's just, like, a place with their own religion, their own people.
Because there's, like, some countries where it's, like, there's where they like marry off children and stuff. Like 12-year-old girls get married off to like 33-year-olds.
Yeah, and that's another thing.
Like that's their society, because people have different societies in different countries. Our society, it kind of like interlocks with like, you know, like England, United States, like those areas.
Yeah.
Like Western society.
Yeah, like if if a group of people, say there's like, I don't know, let's say there's two groups and they're both on their own island. If one island, their morals are, oh, murder is wrong, but then the other group's like, if they're about to die anyways, we can eat them. You know what I mean? They're going to think that's fine because that's their world, their own thing, that's their morals. But on the other hand, they think that's wrong. Thankfully, that the group of the population thinks, oh, that is wrong to date someone that's 15 and you're like 32, sir. That's wrong. But there's still that group that's going to be like, oh, well, And if they were raised in that group, they're going to think that was okay. If you're 15 and not 15, if you're 5 and you're raised to believe that, oh, you know, cannibalism, what? That's fine. They're going to die anyways. They're going to think that's okay.
Well, the like religion, there is such thing as like religious trauma, where like this stuff is like, I don't know much about like too many religions. The most I know is about Christianity. I'm not hating on Christianity. It's just the one I know about the most. So I'm gonna use it as an example. But like there's sometimes like people are really religious. I seen someone who they like, I don't know, they were dating someone and all that stuff, and they kissed. So the mom made them go on their knees on rice for hours. Their knees were purple and they now have knee damage. Like that, like because like, oh, that was not part of the religion. You're not married, all that stuff. And yeah, like that's religious trauma. Like you can go up with being told to believe in something or like, hey, this is right. But like as you go older, I would like to say a lot of people grow more independent, grow their own opinions. They go out more into the world.
Yeah.
So they kind of learn, hey, maybe that's not actually for me. Maybe I don't believe in that.
Yeah. And another thing with trauma I want to say is not parents, but some people believe that traumatizing anyone in a certain extent to protect them is okay. But I'm iffy about that statement. For example, if a kid, touches a stove, okay, and they burn their finger and they're traumatized, they're never going to touch a stove again. But it could get to the point where they're scared of being even near one. And it could also get to the fact where it's
like if a kid's attacked by a dog, they could be scared of dogs for their entire life.
Yeah, it's like the brain is so, to put it bluntly, the brain is so fragile. And
especially when you're young and you're developing.
That's why the internet access is so bad today. If, for example, pornography, that is not okay.
I kid you not. I think the internet and like stuff is making people, like, I feel like a lot of these things why we think we're like, maybe like we're going back and all that stuff, like we're regressing as a society, is because of the internet. It's making us so desensitized to all these things.
Yeah, like a while back, I'm going to say, what's a good example? Just back in time. I'm going to say like
back in the day.
1990, okay? Films and movies and stuff, they were becoming well-known and popular, but the thing is that they were slowly desensitizing people with like, especially in like the 1980s. Like that's when like people were not saying like, they're being rebellious. So pornography and stuff like that, magazines, you could go to a store and buy a magazine full of naked women.
You see like movies and shows of like kids, like they're in a store and they're like looking at like the you know, those magazines and they're like looking at them and all that stuff.
It's desensitizing. Yeah, it's doing that to them. And it started with that, but now it's murder. And this could be good and bad. Like, it could be good because if you've seen that, that's awful, I hope you never do, you won't be as affected. But the thing is that with pornography, it is proven that it can make people become violent. So, for example, if, like we keep talking about, like, younger ages, but this is why we can't stress this enough, is because younger kids, legit, it's so scary. You can just type in P-O-R-N, okay? And you can find that if you don't have a parent restriction. It will just pop up, if not on Google Images websites.
It might not just pop up. It might be like, safe search on, and you just like, off.
Really though, it's just a click of a button. And the thing is, no one starting at a young age, no one's gonna know any better. Just like, oh, that's funny. But the thing is, that could lead to other stuff.
Like, even like some stuff. I once seen someone, like, I didn't see it, but like I heard it. Someone was trying to spell peacock, and they spelled it a little too wrong, and stuff popped up. And like the internet, before like all that stuff, like you could look in a book and you'd be like, oh, that's not how it's spelled. It's spelled like this or all that stuff. Because I don't know, like you can look at the picture in the book or whatever, depending on like what book it is. And like now, the internet, it's just like so many people is searching up like PORN that it's just like, oh, yeah, it kind of looks like you're trying to spell peacock, but you spelled it a little wrong, so we're gonna give you something else.
Like grandfather clock, for example. You forget the L? Oh God.
Oh God.
Just one of our researchers just showed us that. Not the picture, the words, the words, not the pictures.
I was just like, what did they just search up?
No pictures. No. If they showed me the pictures, I would have started crying. No one wants to see that. But we were just gonna say is that, for example, my mom, oh my Lord, I was in grade 4, I want to say. I was in grade 4, okay? And I was in French immersion. Keep that in mind. I was with a bunch of kids. Oh, God. They were like, anyways, I'm not getting into it. Short story. Anyways, they were, they're just, like, this class was full of boys, okay? Like, Star Wars obsessed boys. That's fine. But the thing is that they were idiots, to put it honestly. They were talking about I forget what it's called, but like the anime word for PORN.
Hentai?
Yes. I didn't know what that was. So when I went home that day, I went freaking home. I went upstairs to my mom. She's like, how was your day? And I was like, Mom, what is this? And she's like, well, I never heard of that before. Let's search it up. So she turns her phone. She's searching it up because she doesn't know what it is. She's protecting me, thank God. And I was too embarrassed. Well, not embarrassed, but like I was too scared to search stuff up. I just had my Adventure Time on my laptop. I was good.
That was not me.
But yeah, so she searched it up. She's like, where did you hear this word? What happened? I'm like, just some boys are saying it at school. What's happening? She's like, what are their names? What is happening? And just after that day, I looked at these boys in a new light. Because she didn't tell me. She wouldn't show me. Only thing I saw in the corner of my eye was a woman with like her mouth open and like teary eyes. Like, oh, she's just scared.
I know what you're talking about. Like the face.
Yeah, it was just gross. That's all I saw. I didn't see anything else. I just saw black and white pictures.
Yeah,
but like,
fortunately for me, I didn't really have much like parental control. I was just kind of given like a tablet and I was just going to town.
Yeah.
That sounds wrong. No. Like I was watching like Yandere Simulator.
Yeah, like I didn't search anything up, but I had YouTube. And YouTube, like it goes based off of like, what it thinks you liked. And at the time I was watching like famous YouTubers like Dan TDM and stuff like that. But that shifted and I ended up going to like Nightcore.
I had a Nightcore phase.
Yeah.
I had it multiple times. I like left it and then I went back to it and then I left it and then I went back to it.
Yeah, and that's another thing I've noticed is that most kids without internet access, they just have what your parents give them. So like they'll give you the basics, like what every child would have. But if you have the internet and you start going into stuff, you'll see like this new edgy stuff and you're like, oh my God, I want to be this. And that's what happened to a lot of kids.
You don't get me. You don't have that. I'm so cool. I'm so special. I'm edgy. You don't understand me.
Yeah, and it's not even just kids, though. It's like not manifest. It's evolving into older generations, especially middle school and high school, because everyone's still figuring themselves out. That's fine.
And like kids are curious. Like kids are naturally curious, and like kids want to learn.
Like everyone's naturally curious. I think everyone is at least.
I'm really curious about some stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I'm really nosy.
That's fine. I'm not even mad at that. But
I feel like being exposed to this, like, especially with the PORN, I feel like a lot of time people, like, watch that stuff and they see the people in it and they don't actually see them as humans anymore. They just see them as
Yeah, 'cause
props or
it
objects.
desensitizes them as like a person with human emotions. It's just this something that you're like, oh, I want that. That might feel nice.
So I find, especially in PORN, can I just say it?
No, it's such a gross word.
Porn.
No, it's just desensitizing. Everyone is being so desensitized, and it's good and bad because yes, it'd make you less immune if you ever saw it. I hope you don't.
Yeah, I feel like it has bad effects and good effects because it's like, oh, it's shedding a new, like, especially like PORN. I'm just gonna say it.
No.
So it has some good and it has some bad.
Okay,
Like, especially for PORN, it's like for sex workers and stuff.
yeah.
I do feel like with some areas it's like shedding a new light since it's like so much of it. It's kind of like, oh, it's just a job now. And all of a sudden, like, people are actually like learning about it.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, it's a job, it's this. But some people actually aren't seeing that. Some people, since they're being desensitized or like because of like religious beliefs and stuff, like if it's desensitized, they kind of see these women as objects and stuff.
Yeah.
And not real. So that can cause a lot of violence against like sex workers, especially. Or
Yeah.
just women in total, because they can see a bunch of women doing this stuff, and then it goes and it expands to like all women if they don't have many women in their life.
Yeah.
And if it's like religious, it can lead to violence because it's like, oh, you're not following the rules depending on like who the person is. Because I'm just saying Bible because like I said before, I know the most about Christianity than any other religion. But like, it's like, oh, you're not following the Bible, all that stuff. It's like, oh, you're not pure and all that stuff. And because they don't see them as pure or like as equal as them, they kind of start to view them as an object, just something that needs to be punished, which can also cause violence.
Yeah, it's nothing bad. Well, it is bad. I have something to add to that. Not so much religious, but with the violence and desensitizing, OnlyFans is a thing. That's becoming more common. But the thing is that it's becoming so common, and all these women are like, oh my God, I got so much money. Other people, not even just women, just other people in general, are like thinking it's more common and wanting to join in to get the bunch of money just for like showing off their body. Even if they don't show off their face, they're like, oh my God, I get paid for just doing nothing. You know?
Yeah.
Just taking a picture. But the thing is that, whatever you do, whatever you post online, even if you delete it, that's still online. That's still there. Like, it's easy to get that back, especially with sending people explicit pictures, okay? For the love of God, please.
Oh my God.
Please don't do it.
When I was younger, someone added me on Snapchat. I'm like, oh my God, someone wants to be my friend. I'm like, I don't really know this person, but maybe they know me. I'm not good with names or faces. So I add them back, and then it's like, they sent you a chat. I'm like, new friend, because I didn't have many friends.
Mm-hmm.
And then I click on it, and it's like a link to like some POR website, and it was sent with a video.
And like
I was a minor.
I know, like I had a PlayStation account. Like I was playing on PlayStation, and I didn't hook up my settings yet. I didn't even know there was a setting option for messages. So I'm going on my thing, and I'm playing games, and I get a notification from just some random person. They weren't in my game or anything. I was like, oh, maybe I know them. Go on it. It was a link, and it was a woman showing off a good amount of her chest. I'm like, who the frig is this? And it was a link just like, if you want more friends, just add me on blah, 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 blah. My OnlyFans was like, whoa! Going back to, like, how easy it is to go onto stuff.
There's, like, streaming websites, like, if they're, like, not legal, like, it's all over that.
There's so much stuff. Like, even if you were to go on that website, like, there could be viruses on the website. They could track your IP. They could, like, all this stuff. And it's not safe. Like, I can't stress it enough. Especially if you take pictures or videos, please do not do it. Because there's such thing as revenge PORN, which means, like, you guys should break up, but they're mad at you, and then they'll post this stuff just because they can.
They'll post it, like, send it to your friends or family.
Which is a dick
send
move.
Send it to, like, your school.
Which is a move, okay? Do not do it. But the thing is that if you don't agree to these pictures, and even if you were forced to take these pictures, that's one thing. But you could go, there's websites. Yeah, there's websites you can go to help you take it down. But please
We'll
don't.
post it in the description down below.
Yeah, but if you have an option, don't send more. And especially if someone already has pictures or videos, do not send them more because that's just more blackmail against you.
It's like this person might be your friend, or you feel like, hey, they need me. They're just using you.
Yeah.
Like, block them.
Like
Hit that block button, queen.
Yes. Like, yeah, it can be difficult because, like, if this was a family member or, like, a boyfriend, you feel like you trust them. But if they're making you uncomfortable, and even if you want to send them pictures, I heavily recommend you don't.
And, like,
I've
they're
never
not, like,
done it.
following your boundaries, especially.
Yeah, I've never done it. I've never been in a situation where this has happened, but I've seen a lot of girls that were in that situation, and it's not fun or pretty to deal with.
It's like, I can't speak about it personally. I haven't even held hands romantically, but...
Yeah, it's just, if you... Please do not do that. It's out there. Good luck trying to get it down. You can delete it, but someone could always screenshot.
It's like...
It's not good.
The internet is forever, and what you post on the internet is forever.
Yeah. Like, we are fortunate to have stuff to search up, but it's also...
It's not for certain to get everything off, like, these things.
It's not good, especially with something so personal and explicit. Just please don't do that.
It's, like, so vulnerable, and it's
it's a... Like, I can only imagine. Like, this never happened to us, but I can only imagine some of the girls that had to go through that, and it's heartbreaking. But just, if you can, please do not do such things. Especially, and here's another thing. If someone's like, oh, like, I'm showing off my body, blah, 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 that's one thing. You know, if you're confident, that's fine. But if it's full-blown explicit, like, everything is out.
Like, if it's consensual on both parties, go ahead, I guess. It's
but like,
and if everyone's of age,
and plus,
if it's legal,
yes. And even if, like, your boyfriend you trust and they would never do anything, I still don't recommend taking pictures. Like, that's something you do in person, you know? Just it's still out there. That's on your phone. That's, like, on your iCloud. Everyone, like, if your account got hacked, that person could see it. It's not good. Just please don't.
It's like, I do get that it can be like a kink or a fetish, like the sexting and stuff, but like...
Just no pictures. No pictures or videos.
A lot of time that is a part of it and all that stuff. It's just like, you gotta have trust on both parties that they won't spread it and stuff. You have to, like, make sure you're not doing it with someone who will, like, post this stuff if you don't want it posted.
Yeah.
And all that stuff. And if this person does change and all that stuff, it's like, and they do post it, it's just like, you like, I'm not saying you asked for it, you kind of, like, you should know the risks before going into it.
Yeah.
And you should decide if you want to or not, knowing that risk. It might just be, like, a one-time thing, and in the future you might, like, regret it and all that stuff. If they do, like, post it, that can be, like, bad.
Yeah.
But, like, the other kind of websites try to take it off. It's just, like,
it's still a hassle. And plus, even if they manage to get one picture down, that picture can spread, dude. Like, it's not good. Even if a person saves it, they can't delete it off of their saved account.
They can't, like, hack into, like, the phone or laptop and be like, I'm in. Like,
yeah, they can only delete it from, like, public websites, or maybe I'm pretty sure if you look deep enough, you could find hacking websites to get that off people's stuff. But
it's like,
still,
maybe on, like, Snapchat, because you can see if they save it in chat and all that stuff. You can see if they download it, and, like, you can delete it in the future if you feel like they might use it, if, like, you break up and all that stuff. Yeah. Like, if they downloaded it, and you can see if they have it at least. You won't be able to get it off, maybe, but you can, like, maybe confront them and be like, hey, can you delete this?
And if they say no, that's just... There's so many things wrong with that.
You can be like, hey, like, go talk to their friends, go talk to their family, go to the mom, because they, like, this person is, like, if they, like, have a mom and stuff, but, like, this person is someone's child. They're the mother's child and all that stuff. And a lot of times, moms and stuff, if they find out this stuff, they would either be like, oh, unless it's, like, a boy mom, they might try to defend them and all that stuff. But, like, sometimes, like, the mom will be on your side, and they can be like, my son did that, or, like, my daughter did that and all that stuff.
Yeah, and it can be embarrassing to say, like, hey, I did this, like, that's understandable. At the same time, would you rather be embarrassed or get the help and get that taken down?
Yeah.
And plus, with Snapchat, you can send stuff, but even if you delete it, Snapchat can still save it without you knowing, and people can look at it without you knowing.
I didn't know that.
Like, even if you, like, send a snap of, like, a picture, like, not saved in camera roll, but if you send a snap, it deletes after you see it for you knowing, but it's saved into, like, the cloud of Snapchat. Like, they have, like, the whole, like, everything you say. Like, I'm pretty sure if you looked hard enough, you can go on the computer and look, like, search through other people's accounts and go through their pictures. I saw a video about that, actually. I don't know how to or what even to search up to get to that, but it's still pretty bad.
Maybe don't use Snapchat. Don't take my advice.
What?
don't I said, like, maybe use Snapchat. Do not take my advice. I give bad advice.
Yeah. Don't, you do good advice. What are you on about? Just don't listen to Autumn's advice about
Take my advice with, like, a little slither. I'd be like, should I? And do some more research on my advice if you think about following it, because I don't know all the facts.
Like we said in our first episode, we are still exploring the world as well, but this is for people that have experienced more than we have and they don't know what to do. We're giving you our advice. Even though it hasn't happened to us, we have seen a lot of stuff around us, okay? Another thing, any pictures taken from under 18 is technically child PORN.
But, like,
okay?
what if it's, like, a minor sending it to another minor? It still is, but, like,
any picture under that age, it's PORN, and you could get arrested.
Technically is. Like, but I'm saying, could the child it was sent to also get arrested? Like,
possibly, depending on the situation. If it was manipulation, they could get arrested or
like,
have a charge.
Let's just say it was, like, a 13-year-old and another 13-year-old, and they're like, oh, yeah, they're dating and stuff, and it was, like, consensual and stuff on both parties to, like, either send or receive. Like, what would happen then? Like, I'm not saying that in, like, a creepy way. I'm saying that as, like, what are the laws type of way?
Well, like I said, any picture of a child under 18,
yeah, that's obviously that, but, like, what if it's not spread? What if it's...
It is, but if there's no charge or no one says anything, how are the police going to know, you know?
Yeah, I guess. Maybe, like, a parent finds it.
Then depends on what the parent does, honestly.
So, we had to leave for a little bit. We're back.
We had to.
But basically, men now these days, they don't see women the same a lot of the times.
Yeah, and that's obviously not all of them, but it's...
like, because back in the day, like, by law, like, and, like, custom, like, women were, like, tethered to home and their husband and all that stuff. Like, now it's not like that, but
like,
a lot of men are saying, like, it should be.
Yeah, and it's one thing if you want to be a stay-at-home, like person, whatever, that's one thing. Like, you do you. But if it's to the point where, like, no, you have to, I'm the breadwinner, and you just make the bread, okay? You make bread, you give it to me, I bring money. That's all. like, no, that's bad. That's not good.
But, like, a lot of men, too, they're, like, because of, like, they're saying, like, oh, women should go, like, to the kitchen and stuff again. Like,
no.
Like, people, it's, like, some people are thinking, like, we're regressing in that way. Some people think we're regressing in, like, violence.
Yeah.
And stuff, because violence towards women kind of has always been a thing, but, like,
I think it's backtracking.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're not scientists, but from what we've seen and from, like, the stories we hear on Reddit, like, what the heck?
Here on Canada, in 22, like, thing was done, 184 women and girls were violently killed, primarily by men. One woman or girl is killed every 48 hours here in Canada.
Yeah. That's not mentioning the fact that the statistics...
That's, like, found ones, not, like, anyone who wasn't found.
Yeah, that's just found. And that's also bringing up the fact that 1 in 3 women are assaulted in a group of people. 1 in 3 women and 1 in 7 men are assaulted. Now, obviously, we're not saying that, oh, my God, men suck, blah, blah, blah. That's not what we're saying. But obviously that there is higher statistics with women, you know?
Yeah, and, like, especially in Indigenous women.
Yeah, and that's also not bringing up the fact that these are only reported cases. Allegedly, that number could be higher, or it just could be higher. So just be careful.
Like I said before, some people think we're going back and violence too, because, like, especially sex workers.
Yeah.
Like, there was this dude, I forget what he was called, but he was known for leaving women pointing in a certain direction, and he killed only, like, black female prostitutes. He targeted them and all that stuff. And there's many cases of people just targeting female, like, prostitutes or sex workers, but, like, for some reason, like, going back to the, like, race thing, it's a lot of times black women.
Yeah,
And stuff, especially for sex work.
We need to talk about that real quick. Really quickly, because me and Autumn talked about this before, is sex work legal or illegal? Because
here in Canada, it's not sex work, it's prostitution more so.
Yes.
Sex work online, like if everything's of age and all that stuff, and depending like what site you're using, all that stuff, it should like it's legal and all that. Depending on where you live, of course. Here in Canada, it's legal. But prostitution, that's kind of where we were. Prostitution is legal, but the purchasing of it is not.
Yeah, this is why me and Autumn were talking about this, because I was confused. I may be dumb in this situation. I own up to that, but I don't fully understand. I understand that this is why I'm confused, because the actual act is an exchange. Like, I'll give you this if you pay me, which is technically, it's consent, but it's not consent. Because if it's an exchange, it's not full consent. It's consent in the fact that you get something, but it's not consent in the fact of, like, just being.
Because, like, being
that.
like, oh, if you have sex with me, I'll give you $100 and all that stuff. Like, if I said that to Navy. If I said that to Navy and she does it, I'm not the one being sexually assaulted. She is. That's not legal here in Canada. That is sexual assault or like rape and all that stuff. So prostitution, that's basically what that is. It's like these women most of the time, they go to prostitution because they need the money.
Well,
They need the money. They have like no other place to go, or these like women, sometimes even men, like for both and stuff, like they're addicted to drugs, like they need money and all that stuff. Sometimes they have like a family, or like they don't have like a high enough education, and sometimes these people have been in it since they were children.
Yeah, there's this one place in Canada. I'm not sure exactly where, but I'm pretty sure it's somewhere in BC. Everything's happening up in BC. There's certain areas that are just severely, like, they don't have roofs over their heads, literally, and their floors are dirt.
Well, I blame that on house pricing now and like inflation here in Canada.
Canada inflation. I was like, oh God. Like, my mom moved, like my family moved. It's a nice house, but we got it for a great deal. But that was because it was not sold from like actual, like the woman that owned the house gave it to us. You know what I mean? Not like the actual system. But anyways, to get a house, I remember looking at prices with just us, like me, my two brothers, my mom, and my stepdad. It was crazy. And we were looking for like maybe 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms. That was the goal. And a house that was like in the process of like being dead, like just falling over and needs a bunch of repairs, was like $100, not even, sometimes $200,000. Like for a small, like tilting house.
And like that's here. And we're good compared to some of the other areas here in Canada and stuff. And it's like, yeah, we're getting off topic again.
Yes, we are.
But back to prostitution and sex work.
Yeah, to that. It's just, what I want to say about that is that if you need money and that's the last solution, we can't give our opinion on this to the extent, because we were never put in that situation. We were not prostitutes. But
if anything, I would be a pimp. No, I shouldn't say that. I would be a nice one. I wouldn't beat them. I would be like
the one from South Park. Yeah. You'd be, what is his name? Butters?
I think so. I never watched South Park.
Yeah, you'd be Butters. Okay. Obviously, we went from that situation. But what I mean is that is the job illegal? Because the exchange, that's technically it's not consent, which would be assault. But they're technically.
You said earlier that it's like dirty money, and all.
I said that?
Yeah, you told me that.
When?
When we were first talking about this, when we were doing like research and stuff.
Well, I don't think I said it like that, did I? Did I say like, oh, that's well, okay.
You were like, I think you were like kind of stumbling. You couldn't think of anything, and you said dirty money.
Yeah, what I
And
mean.
also, I don't think you meant it like in much of like a bad way, but like,
Okay, it's hard to put a thing on this. Prostitution, it's technically illegal. It's the numbers are outweighing it to be illegal, like with the non-consent, the assault, the violence against it, the exchange of money. Even though it's consent and giving your body, it's
that would
consent.
be punishing. Like we said earlier, that's like doing the exchange. The person who's like, hey, I will give you this money, and all that stuff. They're not the one being sexually assaulted or raped and stuff. That's the one getting the money. That's the prostitute. Are we going to be punishing the prostitutes for that? That's kind of what it's like. And it's like most of these times the systems have failed these people, like these prostitutes and like sex workers and stuff.
If our systems were good, we wouldn't even have this conversation. You know what I mean? It's just like
I feel like that's why like Canada, they have it legal because like the system's failing these people, the government's failing them, so the least they can do is have them have it be legal and all that stuff. The only problem is like the violence against it, because like a lot of people do like look down on prostitutes and stuff, and they do see it as dirty work.
Yeah.
And like but a study was done in 2022, and it was across 5 Canadian cities, and they found that sex workers whose fear of the police would prevent them from calling 911 in an emergency were 4 times more likely to experience client violence.
If I don't want to say our government, because like our system, what we have, it is good, but it is bad. Like,
it's good for some things, but it fails on other parts.
For example, last semester I did my project on homelessness. I was so stressed out because there was all these people, because I didn't think it was that bad. I was like, oh, our little town, nothing can't be that bad. I look into it and I find out students that are coming here have no places, and they're told that they have housing. I find out that we have people like couch surfing, and our government, they're trying to do stuff, but we have no funding because it's just small membership. Where are we going to get the money? So a lot of our like programs we have here are like given out by donations. Like they have like 50-50 draws and that stuff. But if they didn't have those draws, we would have nothing. Like our SPCA, that would fail. Not women's shelter.
Well, the SCPA isn't funded by the government.
No, that's what I mean. They're not. The SPCA is not funded by the government, which not only affects how their job is affected, but their own paychecks. You know what I mean? They're not funded by the government. It's all draws. Everything with membership housing and solutions, they're doing the best they can, but like they only have so much room, you know. And there's all these people from all these places, Moncton especially. Oh my God, Moncton is just awful. You can't go anywhere without seeing like a corner with like people just huddling up under a tarp, and it's devastating.
The systems were already starting to fail and already failing before like the big like inflation things and all that stuff.
Yeah, like 10, 15 years ago, you say, oh, do you know that homeless guy? The one homeless guy? Everyone know what you're talking about. Now you talk about like, what 82 of them are you talking about?
And then like I feel like go back to COVID. But because of COVID, it did make things like worse too, and like a lot of people got laid off, and like a lot of people got like addicted to stuff.
Yeah, it's just we can't. Our inflation is so bad. Like I remember when we were younger, to get strawberries, like maybe $1, maybe depending what we were doing. But now it's like $7 for like these steroid pumped up strawberries that taste like plastic.
It's like the microplastics and all our food and stuff. It's like, but like, something needs to be done about the system. But like, we don't know how, because like the system's flawed. But like, if you change it, sometimes it would make it flawed in some areas.
Like for example, if they took down the prices of things, they can't take the prices of everything because other places have shipments and they bring it in here. With that, if they had a shipment from, I don't know, Chicago bringing in strawberries, we can't ask them to bring down the price. But if they put a price including the shipment, so that place gets money and the store gets money. So that's an additional money added to that as well. But the thing is that our system got worse after COVID. So now they're like, oh, well, all this money was spent on this. I need to do something, you know? So all
Yeah.
that money, we can't like tell people not how to boost up the price, but because everything's getting higher, other people have to make prices higher. Like there's this local store that has, I don't know where, but there's this there's just places I heard, especially down in like Black River or places like that, they have to boost up the prices by twice the amount because they're struggling, and it's just bad. Like pumpkins, there's a pumpkin patch. I went to the fall and it was a bit after COVID, and pumpkins that we got for like $10 were like 20, and it was just bad. And
Like, that's a 100% increase.
yeah, and if that's
double.
and if that's just for pumpkins and like people having to boost up the prices for like not vegetarian, but like growing veggies, imagine people that have no job, can't get a job, have a bad education, couldn't go to school, don't have anything to go
It's
with,
like
and now
if the
they
system
have
was
to resolve
failing
to this.
them then, like it's failing them even more now because it's failing people who wasn't before now. So like prostitutes and stuff, like going back to them, it's like I don't know any personally and stuff, but it's like a lot of them are doing it because they're struggling. It's like how much are they struggling now and stuff. It's like, well, I guess they could just raise their prices, but like
Yeah, but that's another thing.
that would turn down like customers and stuff, wouldn't it? Because they'll be like, I'm already struggling. Like that's going to another thing. Like people are struggling like to pay for stuff now.
It's
so
just,
like why they may not even be able to afford prostitutes anymore, as bad as that sound, that they like were before. So these prostitutes might not be making as much money, and also so they might be going into more riskier things to try to make more money and stuff, because some prostitutes and stuff, they do have like, hey, you can't do this and that to me, like I'm not going to do this because it's like too risky, and like they might find like good clientele that will follow it, but they might start taking on more sketchy clientele, might like doing like, hey, I'm not comfortable doing this, but like I'll do it now because I need the money.
And that's another thing I just want to add to that, is that with all these sketchy businesses, it leads to more sketchy people. And I just want to bring up really quick human trafficking. This is a trigger for a lot of people, and I understand that, but we need to talk about that real quick. There's videos posted, and they're awful. I haven't seen any, thank God, but I've read stories about people that have survived or gotten out there, and it's literally the most disgusting thing I've ever read in my entire life. There's like, especially younger children, these women, even men, little boys and little girls are being taken in, and they're like chained to poles and like just talking about it. No one wants to hear it. But the thing is that no one's talking about it, and it's being ignored. They see the video and like, oh, that's gross. They see these videos like, oh my God, that's gross, that's disgusting. But not much gets done. Like there's no video tracking. There's only
like
so much
taboo
you could do.
to talk about it, so no one talks about it.
Exactly.
But it needs to be talked about to get something done.
Like,
and that's the problem.
No one, like we said, we're still exploring the world, but we are almost adults, and we're talking about human trafficking and how, thankfully, Miramichi, we haven't heard. But then again, who would? You know, like if understand the police have to hide some stuff to not make people panic, and they have to not like worry about evidence, but at the same time, people are being kidnapped and forced into these things for other people's disgusting pleasure, to the point where they die and they go on the hunt for more people to get a paycheck. That's disgusting.
Like people, especially like for younger children and stuff, because like a lot of people are like, hey, I want a virgin. I want someone who's pure as and all that stuff.
That's sick.
Like, or they just like, I want to ruin them. So a lot of times, virgins are children.
That's especially children. Children are being trafficked for
So
that
they're being
exact purpose.
They're being trafficked and exploited for this, like.
And it's mainly women, mainly girls, but it can be boys as well. But the thing is that the rates for human trafficking, where are you going to find rates for that? And the only thing you could do is find videos. Like, I'm not going to
Find videos?
You know how, okay, I've never done it. I never want to. I don't even know how, but I was told it's pretty easy to get onto the dark web. But it's just, it's just, it's so sad because our generation, we have the internet and all this research at the tip of our fingers, and since we have that, it's for our pleasure. That's great. We can search up whatever. But at someone else's expense, it could get to. Like, children, little kids that don't know the world are being kidnapped and forced into these horrible things. And we don't know about it, and we don't even give them names. Because we don't know who they are. They're just kids on a video for someone's sick, disgusting pleasure. And it's absolutely revolting. And talking about it is even worse. Because realistically, what could we do? We could bring awareness, but then
Like, what could we do as people? That's like for the like people with the authority to actually handle us. Like we can't really do much. Like me and you, it's like you said, we're still growing up. We're only like 17. It's like we can go and try to go into a profession to help it and all that stuff. But
like then again, there's so everything, like we said, everything has a negative to a positive. Everything does. Police officer, great, you can help people. That police officer could have a history and is now using that advantage to go against you.
we've been talking a lot about like in person, but like online, people do feel like more brave and stuff like that's like
Yeah.
why there's cyberbullying and stuff a lot at times because like people won't say stuff to people in real life to their face, but they will say it online because it's like that type of protection. Like there's a lot of hate on like sex work, like especially like, with OnlyFans, online and stuff. I do get some of it's like bad because like not like OnlyFans, but like some people on Twitch, like a lot of young boys watch Twitch and stuff, and there are people who are like borderline naked and doing like soft PORN and all that stuff, like basically doing that. And like these young boys are seeing, and these people, like some of these people are really popular. And also, so that's kind of also giving it a bad rap and all that stuff because like I don't agree with doing that on Twitch. Like there are websites to do that, but these people like a lot of times they do it on like Twitch or like places like that because it's like kids watch that. A lot of times parents don't know about that. They don't question it. They will just let their kid watch like Twitch if they're like, you know, like preteen, teen and all that stuff.
Especially YouTube kids. Like,
Yes.
I wouldn't know because I haven't really seen it, but there is heavily implied stuff on there. Like, there was just one video of, like, I was just scrolling through, and I saw one of, like, pregnant Elsa. Okay?
That's called Elsagate. If you guys want to know more about that, I think I talked about it.
Nope.
It was, like, heavily documented, kind of, because, like, some of it's still up today and all that stuff. Some of these videos and some of them are still being posted. But, like, these people do it there. Like, I find on YouTube, it's more so not, like, it's more so to spread fetishes and all that stuff and to expose kids to it. I find on Twitch, it's a lot of times that, like, hey, these kids, they're probably not gonna, like, they might be too scared to actually, like, search stuff up on Google.
Yeah.
But, like, this is Twitch. They're probably not gonna be questioned if they're watching Twitch. So they might get many and more views, these people doing that, because all these, like, young boys or, like, young people are watching it.
Yeah.
And it's, like, it's just kind of exposing them, and it's giving like sex work online a bad rap because you know how like people like, oh, like OnlyFans girls, it's like, oh, you're dressed skimpy, you must be an OnlyFans girl because luckily with online and stuff there's so many more opportunities for jobs online and stuff, like, but
that's only if you have access to online stuff.
yeah, and like especially like, it opened it a lot, especially for sex work and all that stuff. And I find OnlyFans and those type of websites, like, people, like, kind of hate on them and stuff. And here's the thing, though. People don't realize that some of these women do turn to it because, like, oh, sometimes they just want some extra cash. Sometimes they like, hey, I need the money and all that stuff. Like, I don't know what else to do. I can just do this. It's very easy. I can make some money. People don't realize how like many people are doing it, like doing like sex work online now. Like how many workers there are on it online. It's like it's competitive and all that stuff. So basically now these people like, hey, especially if they're desperate, they're like, I need this many. It's like, how do I get big? How do I? Because a lot of these times, the people who are big have actually a loyal following, and people are like, how do I get big? How do I get a loyal following? And OnlyFans and these type of things, they're kind of like a business now. It's like you selling yourself there. It's a business, and a lot of businesses fail because they don't know how to market themselves. So a lot of times, these women like, I gotta market myself, and they just don't know how to market themselves, which leads to them signing contracts with people who are like, yeah, I'll help you market yourself. I know all about this. And like these contracts can be tricky. Like people who like actually are like CEOs, own like companies and all that stuff, they will hire lawyers just to read contracts because they're complicated. These people, like, especially if they need the money, they can't really afford a lawyer probably. And they're just like, I guess I'll kind of read it and I don't really understand it, but like I need to market myself, I need to make money. They'll sign these things and it's a bad deal. And all that stuff. These people are taking all the money and it's like I have to post this many times a week. All that stuff. I'm making no money and it's like
Yeah.
it's like I think it's called like OnlyFan, and there's like OnlyFan pimps. As like yeah, like they get like a bunch of women and they like have them like, you know, it's basically a pimp but like for OnlyFans and stuff. But yeah, it kind of ties into like this stuff because like we said like, hey, sometimes people go into this stuff because they need to.
Yeah.
But like Emil Durkheim, I don't know if I'm saying his name right. He stressed that people are the product of the environment. So that kind of like here we said like, oh, Canada, it's kind of bad with money right now, and like the system failed some of these people, and that's why they went into it because of the environment. And he also said, and that the behavior cannot be understood in terms of individual biology and physiological traits. I'm sorry, guys. I'm bad at speaking.
It's okay.
He believed that the traits of human potential was socially determined, not biologically. I messed that up. But like I kind of agree with him, to be honest, because like
Me too. Yeah.
how many people do you just see like who probably could have done so good for themselves, like, but they ended up going and like being like addicted to drugs because of like just who they would hang out with ended up in the wrong crowd and all that stuff, or because of like their family and all that stuff. It's like it kind of ties into like that, especially with sex work and all that stuff, because sometimes these people they could have had like a really bright future, but they just couldn't afford to go to college or something, and they just ended up turning to something they thought would kind of have it and all that stuff.
Yeah, and that's another thing I want to bring up. Our environment is our environment that we are in. This I heavily agree with Emil Durkheim, is because our environment, like Autumn said, is what we have. If and I can't, sorry I keep bringing this up, but when you are born into the world and your environment is not safe, and you don't have that first tier of what you should have in life, you're screwed. You don't trust no one, so how are you going to proceed on something? If you don't trust anybody, how are you going to communicate? How are you going to love yourself in the end, you know?
It's like you can't actually test this out, I guess, because like no one's alike, and you can't go back in time. You can't just put someone like in growing up in one situation, then go back in time and then put them in another, like in a different situation and all that stuff. But like there are signs that this does happen and all that stuff. And yeah,
people are going into the mindset that this is okay, and it can and it cannot be. If our generation, to put it bluntly, is very excited, okay? Like that's all. And teenagers at this age, our parental lobe or whatever.
Frontal cortex.
Yeah, our frontal cortex is still developing. And
It actually doesn't develop until you're 25.
Exactly. And another thing, you have a gap in between your brain, which causes you to do irrational and dumb decisions without your.
That's why we said don't fall on my face, because I did something irrational.
Yeah, like.
And like also another fun fact, if you have like ADHD or something like that, your frontal cortex doesn't actually fully develop until you're like 27.
Yeah,
it takes long for it to develop. Like nowadays, we're gonna go back in history now, guys. Like nowadays, there's a bunch of online stuff. There's so many more opportunities for like sex work because of online. But back then, they kind of stood on the corner of the street and some people like, "Harlot, skank, I can see your ankles."
Yeah. Oh my goodness, she's showing off her fingers.
It's like,
she's showing off her ankles and her shoulders.
Yes.
At one point, I'm pretty sure they weren't even allowed to show off their neck. They were like collars.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know. And
So, back in the day, women were expected to be, pure and innocent and, especially, we're talking about, Western society and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, especially then, um, the Bible was a big thing, so it was seen as, and it was seen dirty, so they would hate it on and stuff. We said nowadays, people they get a bad rap. There was violence against them. Back then, imagine it then, because it was like, oh, the Bible says that's simple. You're going to hell. All that stuff according to that. But basically, in the older days, sex workers got the short end of the stick.
Yeah, keep in mind, this is also during times, not the same time period, of course, but this is during times where people were being burned for being a witch. You had freckles? Burned. You have blue eyeballs? Burned.
If you made good cheese? Burn. Before, there would actually be, ads in papers and stuff, and they'd be like, get moonshine and colored women in disorderly house. That's an ad, that's an ad in paper back then, in Victorian ages.
What did it say?
Get moonshine and colored women in disorderly house. That's what the brothel or whatever it was called, disorderly house. So you could get moonshine and colored women.
Wow,
But yeah, brothels, we don't have those now, but that's kind of what was used then and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Kings way back then, kings and stuff, they were known for going to brothels. So
can we also talk about that though? How kings during those times. Two things I want to bring up. One is the childbirth. I want to bring up that, the fact that one king in general, he got his wife and other pregnant women to sit on a table.
That's why we give birth that way. I think we talked about that before.
Yeah, you sit on a no, you don't sit.
I think that's a bit off topic though.
No, but it's kind of it's history, okay? And basically, he got these women to give birth on a table instead of just standing up because the gravity would have helped.
Because he wanted to watch.
Yeah, he is a frickin' frick. He doesn't care about the fact that this would help.
Laying on your back and stuff and giving birth, it's actually more dangerous for you and the child. It's actually better to squat and all that stuff and give birth because gravity helps pull it out and all that stuff. Pull it out. Helps,
Oh my god. If one day when I'm a mother, if I am, hopefully, I'm going to go down, listen, I'm looking you dead in the eyeballs as I'm saying, picture this, I'm looking you dead in the eyes, Autumn. You're my doctor. And I'm like, listen, you sick person. I'm going to give birth squatting, and if you make me lay down, I'm going to murder you. Okay?
They want to take you. You'd have to do something. You'd have to get...
Oh, whoops, sorry.
But yeah, if you wanted to give birth squatting nowadays, you would have to get, someone who would actually help you, and you'd probably have to do a home birth and stuff. But, squatting is more helpful because, you use the same muscles to push out a baby as you do to poop. But do you poop sitting and all that stuff, like on a toilet and all that stuff, or like crouching in a hole if you're in the woods, I guess. And I was but like, do you guys give like not give but do you guys like poop while laying down? No, that's not really good. Like if you tried, it would probably be more difficult. I'm not saying to try, but it's like it helps it causes less like complications because laying down the baby's heavy, so that means it's going down and all that stuff like on the mom's laying on her back, it's going like more towards her back and all that stuff, so that's making it harder to push up because it kind of needs to go up a little and down, and it's down more than it kind of needs to, and that can cause more ripping and stuff. But like if you're crouching, that means it's kind of like straight. It's already down there. It just needs some more pushing and stuff. If it's laying down, it's like it could be like anywhere because like I don't know where I'm going, but like oh wait, a bag of marbles. If you lift it up, they're all at the bottom. But if you like set it
Yeah,
down and stuff, they kind of go
It's just gravity helping.
out.
Yeah, with the gravity, it would help a lot because.
But yeah, that's all happens because a king had a fetish, and yeah.
Yeah.
And kings also really liked brothels, like a lot of them. Like I forget who this one was, but like one was known in a brothel. He gave them so much work that yeah. Here and stuff in Canada, um, like throughout the 1800s and stuff, it was around in brothels. A lot of time the houses were grouped together, and were often sharing like their neighborhood and stuff with taverns, and a lot of times they were in the poorer parts of the cities because like I said before, like the Bible was like big back then and it was seen dirty, and like nobles were like, oh, too good for that and all that stuff. They're like, we're not going down with the peasants and stuff. We're too good for that. So it was a lot of times in the poor areas, and especially because a lot of times it was in the poorer parts and stuff. Here in Canada, in Ottawa and Quebec City, the brothel districts were in the lower towns. In St. John, Halifax, and Kingston, they were near the docks. Montreal and Toronto also had districts. The brothels in St. John and Halifax provided a gambling in addition to sex and alcohol. And some of the most financially successful houses were the ones who were providing one of the more successful ones were the ones providing like the gambling and stuff. And this like went up to like they were like really successful like up to like the first half of the 19th century and all that stuff. And yeah.
I think that people are sick. That's what I think. It's this whole podcast. It is a hard topic because the main purpose of this topic is to bring awareness, let people know. Share some interesting facts.
I want to bring awareness too. This is kind of like a little off its on topic. Fake eyelashes. Love them, hate them. They may not be for you. They may not be. I think they look good depending on like the type of person. I don't wear them, but they were made for prostitution.
To keep the gross stuff out of your eyes.
Basically, women would be down and the men would be like standing there higher and all that stuff. And a lot of times, they're happy paint. I'm not calling it that. The semen, the cum that the men made. It's like, as bad as that sounds, but basically you were to get in their eyes and stuff, and they're like, how do we stop this? Like, we're getting STDs were big back then and all that stuff. So they're like, oh, this is getting our eyes. We're getting STDs in our eyes and stuff. Like, how do we stop this? Fake eyelashes. The fake eyelashes were made like big and stuff, and they were called cum umbrellas. Basically, they were to protect the eyes and stuff. And the cum would go on the fake eyelashes and not in your eye.
Can we talk about this on a school podcast? Are we allowed to talk about this on a school podcast?
Well, it's how like they invented stuff. Like they were like actually quite like that was like a good idea. Like that goes back into what Emil Durkheim said. Like if they like invented that for that, like imagine if they like had more money and like good invention and stuff. But like imagine if they like could do something more probably than become a prostitute. Like imagine if they like were a woman, if they were a man, and they had like they was that smart to make something like that. Like they could probably make something good. But yeah, like if they weren't born like women and stuff, they probably like and they were like that smart. They probably would have been like, probably made good money and all that stuff. And it kind of ties into a Harriet Martineau. Wait, no, yeah, it's Harriet Martineau. I'm not saying that right probably, but like her work paid close attention to the social distinctions based on like class, race, and gender. Um, Her work explored the status of women, children, and sufferers. And like, here's the thing: like, she was smart. She came out with stuff like that, and like, the irony is that she got no recognition of this because of her gender.
Yeah, like most of, oh jeez, that's far away. Most of these things, like most scientists, especially that were women, most of the men took it over. Like,
Yeah, especially in the past and all that stuff. It's
like Marie Curie, she discovered radiation and like 2 new elements that was groundbreaking, and she should have gotten her award, but instead I believe her husband got it and took full credit because she wasn't allowed to.
DNA, I'm pretty sure that was discovered by women, but like men took credit for it.
Yeah.
And all that stuff. Like, there's so many things back then women could do and all that stuff, but couldn't because of their gender, which put them in situations that also like led to like violence and stuff.
Yeah.
And like it just wasn't good.
I think we're good on talking about history and all that stuff now and about prostitution.
Prostitution.
I feel like the lashes thing kind of ruined it. I maybe shouldn't have brought that up. But like sex work, like we said before, and all that stuff, like we had like the thing like, is it legal? And it was like, well, there's no consent and all that stuff. Like we talked about like that going backwards and all that stuff. And like, now these days, like people are like, oh, I'm gonna touch you. They joke about that stuff and all that stuff, like having like no consent. Like they joke about it, and it's like, oh, I'm gonna go into your house in the middle of the night and I'm gonna touch you and stuff. It's like, better cover up or else I'm gonna be near you. And I was like, I'm gonna be honest, I've made jokes like that. One time I went up to my friend, put my hand on her shoulder, and said, 80% of rapes actually start with a hand on the shoulder, and I put my hand on her shoulder.
I was one of her victims. I'm just saying that now. I remember you doing that to me. Like when we first got comfortable, and then you showed that to our friend group, and then our whole freaking friend group was just like touching each other's shoulders. And
like I actually started that like to get people's attention and stuff, because like a lot of times like I struggle with getting people's attention, so I did that to get people's attention. And like sometimes you do something and stuff, like especially now these days, like especially because like people are so desensitized because of all this stuff and like the history of all this stuff, and like we're so desensitized we don't actually realize how bad it is.
Yeah.
And all that stuff, because like speaking about it, it's like, ooh, why do I joke about that kind of? It's like that's kind of weird.
If we were to joke about, I don't
like we don't go into like morbid detail or anything like that, like because I do hear some men here at school and stuff talk about like joke, and they go into detail and all that stuff. Like I go into detail, and it's like, I hope you get hit with a bus and you end up in the coma. Like I go into description about like that stuff, not about like consent and like.
Yeah, and I heard like some people around say, oh, I'm gonna touch you, but like they're just like saying that sentence. They didn't go to like, oh yeah, I'm gonna take that girl and I'm gonna tie her down and blah blah blah. And I'm like, why?
Yeah,
that's
it's
not.
Like,
why would you do that? That's not cool.
It's like nowadays, like consent, like we have so many laws like saying what is, and that's wonderful because we didn't have that in the past and all that stuff. And like a lot of the prostitutes in the past, they faced so much more violence because there wasn't these laws and all that stuff. And like that goes back into what we were talking about at the beginning. Are we going backwards? Because I feel like a lot of people, they do know about consent, they just don't care
They don't
and
care.
all that stuff. So like maybe we're not going back. Maybe we just
Are becoming too desensitized to not care about anyone but ourselves.
because like there are quizzes to see like, and you can do research to see how much you know about like consent. Like on the kid's health phone, we'll put this in the description and all that stuff. I don't know, whatever we use, we'll put it with it. There's on the kid's health phone and stuff. This is kind of more for like teens and like kids and stuff. To know what you know about consent. It's a like 9-question quiz and stuff. You can do that, and it tells you the right answers, and it goes through it if you're just curious. And there are people out there and stuff who can tell you this stuff. And as you may not want to tell people, like ask in person, but like if you do have questions, like there is the internet still. We are lucky to have like a search engine like in our pocket and stuff. It's just like don't get too desensitized and stuff with it.
But with that, I think we do have to go. Yeah, we
have
to go.
I think we talked about all we wanted to talk about, really.
Yeah, we did.
So this has been Autumn and Navy on a podcast. And we are going to sign off.
Goodbye.
Bye.